Some of you we have met before, and we were like very theoretical. This is what Service Point looks like. These are some of the things that are happening. We're now taking step 2. Here are really 2 things we're going to make you do. We have one more really key step. I'm still, some of what I'm going to go over today is, well, you might be doing this and you might be doing that. So we have one more very, very important step, and that is truly to connect with each and every one of you one-on-one and have some very, very specific conversations. Are you providing an overnight shelter? Are the folks that are kind of getting your maybe services only those overnight residents? Are those separate programs? We will have some really specific conversations with you one-on-one. So then you'll have even more. Okay, my program is called this really cool overnight shelter. I know exactly who's getting my services. Okay, so, and we will be reaching out to you for that one-on-one connection conversation. Okay, here are the 2 kind of hardcore HMIS moves that we're going to make that are going to force some reporting and allow us to count and sing the success of your program. You already heard me use the term. One is overnight shelter. Again, I know that can look very different. Like sometimes that might be in a hotel motel, sometimes that might be something, but we're talking about there in an overnight program. You housed them overnight, an overnight shelter. Again, we'll get to the specifics of that. So you're all going to kind of do the same moves if you're housing someone overnight, whether it's in a hotel motel, whether it's in an emergency shelter, whether it's in maybe conceivably even like what we maybe might call a safe parking. Maybe it's literally like a parking lot that has some showers and some bathrooms and things of that nature. So again, looks very different. You're all going to do the same moves that we're going to go over right now to count that overnight stay. Okay. All right, hopefully you're seeing my screen, and this is HMIS. I am, last time I think I picked on Warm Springs. This time I'm picking on Grand Ron. So again, we'll be very detailed to what you are doing. Also, the document that I just was talking about, it's right here. It's called the Shelter Point Navigation Center Workflow for an Overnight Stay. It's right here. So this is kind of where from check the client in from Shelter Point. So again, here's the document. So we'll make sure you have this. And Jeremy, I don't know if you did find a way to pop that into the chat or.
Yeah, we're working on it right now. Just 1 minute.
Okay. You provided an overnight stay. Someone stayed in your program overnight. What we're gonna make you do is interact with something called Shelter Point. What Shelter Point is, what's the difference between Client Point and Shelter Point? What are all these things? What are you talking about? I like to describe it actually. When I first got to Portland, I worked at a Hilton Garden Inn. Okay, cool. Sheila's giving us some tips on. I worked at a Hilton Garden Inn, and they had this really amazing like folio system where you could see exactly who was in room 217 and how many beds was in room 314. And Shelter Point is similar. It's a live who is in your overnight facility. The cool part is Shelter Point does a lot of cool things in what we call Client Point. And Client Point is simply your file cabinet. Your file cabinet of every person you've ever worked with. What if a person was in your shelter in August and they come back in October? Wouldn't you have a file on them? Yeah, well, that's Client Point. So Shelter Point is super cool. It allows you to live do a lot. Hey, who is in my program tonight? I can do some super cool moves in Shelter Point that bring them in, and then I can see they're in bed 7, they're in bed 12. And then when they leave my program, it also updates their file client point. So I have this really cool way to interact with HMIS. One is who's in my program right now. That's shelter point, in and out, in and out. But that is creating moves in client point, which is my file cabinet. Okay, so let's go through. What am I talking about? All right, someone stayed in your program overnight. You go to shelter point, you find your program, and I have overnight shelter. Again, this is where we're going to have that one-on-one. We'll have a very detailed discussion. What do you call that program? And then you check a client in. You have some other very cool options. We'll get to maybe some of these very fun advanced features, but you're primarily checking a client in. You also have view all, which takes you to the exact same screen, but I'm going to check a client in. You notice Mickey Mouse is in bed 5 in the Columbia room. So again, this is an example of how detailed we want to get with you and the power of Shelter Point. It allows you to truly describe your overnight program. You notice I created a room called Columbia, and inside of that room, 8 beds. Of those 8 beds, 2 of them are bunk beds. So again, this is the detail. The Willamette room, that is for a family of 4. So again, I'm just giving you an example. This is the one we want to get to, that detail. That's the power of Shelter Point. You have the exactly what your overnight program is. Okay, so this person that I'm checking in overnight, they're by themselves. They don't have any children. So I'm going to put them into the Columbia bed 1, and I can click empty, or I also can click this green circle. And if I mouse over, meaning like I just hold my cursor over, it says, check them in to the Columbia bed C1. Who do you want to check in? Oh, okay. So you type the name of the person that you're about to check in. All right. So you search for them by name. If they were there, would you have a record, a file? Of course. You can also do some very powerful searching. Conceivably, you could search literally by one letter of their first name. Sure. Oh, I found a Mickey Mouse because K is in their first name. So very, very powerful. All right, but I'll go ahead and search for their name again. They're not there. I don't have a file on them, so I'm going to answer some additional questions. Alias is very cool. Their driver's license is Tim, but everybody maybe calls them something else. Social security number. You see it? Is it required? It's not required to provide service. It's there. HMIS has what we call universal data standards that say, hey, ask it, but it's absolutely not required. And you might be doing this question right here quite often. Client doesn't know, refuse. What? I don't want to give you a SOC. Are they a veteran? And you create your client. Now, if they have like children or another person with them, you might want to do a household, but this person's by themselves. So I'm going to add client only. And I want to put this person into the bed. What did I choose? 1? I can't even remember. And I select this wonderful little plus sign. And Kevin is in my bed. Now I can adjust the date, which is very cool. We're not expecting you to do live data entry necessarily. So what if they checked in on maybe the 1st of August? Well, that's a little bit too long. Maybe like the 2nd of August. And I'm getting around to my data entry right now. Of course, you can kick that date to something else. Now you also have a calendar. You can choose by calendar as well. The 3rd, the 1st. So you can also use your calendar. Whoops, I cleared it, which is that middle button. So you can also use your calendar, which is very helpful. Now, timestamp, you do not need to worry about that. It's not. Now, you might be like, well, this is a shelter. I do truly want to put in the time they came in. You can, but this is not a requirement. Again, we're counting overnight. Do you need to know the exact time they came in and the exact time they left? No. Did they stay overnight? Yeah. Okay, we got you. Supplies given, locker code notes. These are for your use only. We're not going to report this stuff. Incidents don't have to be negative, everyone. You might think the word is somewhat a negative connotation. A good example of an incident might be I created bunk beds. Kevin can't be on the top bunk. That's a great incident. So when you check him in, you will always see that incident. Again, sometimes maybe it is negative. Um, Kevin and another person, they really can't be in the same room. They always get in an argument because one of them snores. Perfect example of an incident. Household, again, this person's by themselves, so there is no household. So now I'm just going to do some data entry. Again, you're seeing a very strong connection to HMIS has HUD regulations and standards. We can be very flexible. Again, I'm just giving you an example of what we call the universal data elements. What's this person's relationship? Well, they're by themselves. What's their date of birth? They didn't tell me their date of birth. They told me they're like 31 years old. So you can always do an approximate, something like 0101. What is that year? It's 1985, and I'm giving you an approximate. So no, you don't need the date of birth. Now, is the date of birth important? Yeah, the key thing here, kind of, if you don't give a date of birth, here's the problem. Are they over 18 or under 18? That's the one. If you have nothing here, yeah, I don't know. They don't want to give me anything. Ouch. Okay, I mean, I have no. Are they even an adult over 18? I don't know. So, yeah, this is very important. So, approximating a date of birth is absolutely awesome. Hey, I'm giving you an approximate. This person is an adult. Okay, what's their race? Again, this is all self identified. Race additional, maybe they identify as more than one. If they do not, you can leave that blank. What's their ethnicity? Again, this is a federal HUD thing. This is the only pick list we get. Gender, the cool thing here, you can select more than one. You have these options here, like a transgender questioning. So I could be like female and questioning. So there are the ability to select more than one. To do that, you simply hold your control on your keyboard. You can select more than one. Male. You also notice one cool thing is when you select one, it grays out the ones that says you can't select these, you can't select this one and this one. So it's at least giving you a little smartness as far as says, hey, these are the only 1, 2, 3 others you can select that go with male. Okay. Prior living situation. Hey, before you coming into my overnight program, where were you? Well, maybe I was like sleeping, outside. Maybe I was in a different emergency shelter. Maybe I was hanging with some friends or family. I'm staying with some friends or family. I'll say I was in a place not meant for habitation. How long were you in your tent underneath, on the coast? Only about a week. How long, though, has this episode of homelessness start? Well, it actually started back in, um, like sometime in March. Oh, okay. So before, like, you were in the tent, how many times have you been homeless since March? Oh, sorry, in the past 3 years, including today, 2 times. How long did those 2 times last? Well, I've been homeless since March, and the other time I was homeless about a year, so we'll say more than 12 months. Do you have a disabling condition? This is just a yes, no question. If you answered yes, it'd be awesome to know kind of what type of disability. So you click this HUD verification, you shift them all to a no, one, and then you select the ones that they do have. Okay, well, maybe they said that, yeah, I have some alcohol abuse. So you shift it to a yes. All right, we like to call this the Nike. Many of us in Oregon, very close to Nike. What's their slogan? Just do it. These two questions, we don't want you to think about them. We don't want you to have to spend any time. Just do it. Nike them. And that is a yes, yes. Yep. Yep. So that's a Nike move. Just do it. They also have drug use. Nike, just do it. Again, these questions don't really apply anymore, but we do not want to have any confusion of you reporting this. So you just Nike it. Just do it. Now, if you do select those, you absolutely want to make sure you select this one as well. And then you just keep going. Any others that they identify, you just keep going. Okay, client location. Maybe they were, again, we can talk about these. Again, this is very HUD, continuum of care driven. Some of you, again, maybe Warm Springs, you might be more connected to your continuum. Grand Ron, I assume maybe you might be over here in like Lincoln County. Anyway, I don't know exactly. Again, that's the one-on-one. Current county of residence, I'll say it was Lincoln. City, Lincoln City. And are you a domestic violence victim or survivor? Yes or no? I save and exit. And I have checked Kevin Hart into my shelter. Did he stay overnight? Yeah. Okay. Check him in. That is shelter point. Again, maybe you're doing this like kind of maybe you have a paper form or something of that nature, and you just check the next person in. You just click on empty, and you go right through the exact same process. Okay. Before I continue, any questions, comments, thoughts? All right. I know some of you have
I,
seen this. Yeah.
I actually have a question, Hunter. This is Judy. So, if the client is in recovery, like they just left a treatment program for alcohol or drugs, would you still count that as a yes, as far as like a disabling condition of alcohol and drugs?
I certainly would. Again, but to me, it's more, again, a little self-reported. It's you're trying to get the client to self-report. So what would they say? Yeah, but you don't, I mean, I guess it's a really good question as far as they don't have to be like currently abusing that particular drug to be considered to have that disability. All right, any other questions? Is this making sense, hopefully? Again, this should be very helpful. Check them in, search for the client, household, assign the unit, then answer your entry. So again, this is kind of your step-by-step guide. But again, we will have some little more detail even. Okay, wait, shelter point. So now that you've checked them in, where's the file? You mentioned a file? Like you just, so wait, I just created a file cabinet on Kevin. So now I have like, I can always go access whether he's in my program or not. I have a file on him. Yes. And that is client point. All right. So you have a variety of ways. Let's go look at Kevin's file. What did this do? What did checking them into shelter point get me? What happened? You have a variety of ways of getting to client point. Well, I could just click client point and search for Kevin. There he is. But here's a different way. What about through Shelter Point? Like the beauty of Shelter Point is in a couple clicks, you can see who is in your overnight program right now. So you can also get to his file through Shelter Point. I just want to show you that as well. What? I created a file? That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, Shelter Point is very groovy like that. Okay, so go back to Shelter Point. Who's in my program right now? Where did Mickey Mouse go? I want to look at Mickey Mouse too. So I go back to my Shelter Point. And again, maybe this time I'm not checking somebody in. I just want to look at it so I can view all. And there's Kevin. There he is. Yeah, I know. He's in bed C1. He's in the Columbia room, man. I click on him. And down at the very bottom, I can jump to his profile, jump to his record. I want to see his file, jump to profile. So you can also get to it through Shelter Point. And welcome to Kevin Hart's file. You are now inside of his file. Maybe 2 months later, when he's not in your program anymore, can you pull out his file and look at all of his information? Of course. Client Point. That's Client Point. Okay, so I'm in Client Point right now. Now you'll notice we're trying to give you some color coding. Client Point is green. You see this big, it's green across the top. Shelter Point's purple. So if you're ever curious, where am I? Reminder of your color. It's trying to give you some helpful, maybe that's blue. I don't know. I call that purple. Okay, but I want to go back to Client. All right, do you have other ways of getting to the client file? Yeah, I want to show you one more called last viewed. Weren't we looking at Kevin's file? Can't I just go back to who I was looking at really quickly? Yeah, it's called last viewed. And I can just click Kevin. We won't go into favorites maybe right now, but you truly also can create your favorite list. And you can click on favorites and just go, it's a list of 10. And you can go to maybe your top 10 clients. Okay, but we'll go last viewed. And this is Kevin's file. Okay, we have what's called the summary. I'm on the summary tab. The summary shows you, hey, any households, any other people or a child, release of information. You guys don't need to do this move. It's meaningless. Right now, you're not sharing your information to anybody but yourselves. So we can drop this. Again, we'll have some of these conversations. Entry, exits. Boom. What programs at my agency has this person been enrolled in? And your Shelter Point move created what's called an entry exit. Beautiful. All right, service transactions. We'll get to service transactions in a moment. All right, so this is his file. When he leaves your overnight program, what if he only stayed for like 4 nights? Okay, well then there'll be what we call an exit date. Okay, this is his file. Again, the really cool thing is the moves you make in Shelter Point automatically update the file. Yeah, you don't have to do 2 moves. Okay, all right. Okay, let's do it one more time. All right, I'm gonna do it with a household this time. All right, okay, we're doing good time-wise, I think. Okay, sorry. Okay, one more time. Okay, this time I'm checking them in. I'm just checking them in. I'm checking them in. All right, I'm gonna go to my unit list and I'm gonna check them in. This is a household with children, so they did get into my Willamette room. So I'll start with the room 1 and I click on empty or the green circle. This was Julia Roberts. No alias, of course, no soc, not a veteran, and I search. No matches. Oh, maybe she spelled her name differently. I'm just gonna try Julia. Yeah, again, don't be afraid to do multiple searches. Okay, no, not there. All right. Oops. I'll search one more time. All right, she's definitely not there. I'm gonna add new client with this information. And this time I am gonna create a household. This one, you really like 99.99% of the time, you would never ever use this button. So don't worry about the search. You're gonna create a new household. Okay, this is a female single parent. And now I'm creating the next household member. Do I need to create Julia again? No, of course not. You've already created Julia. Create the next household member. There's no ordering required here. Does it have to be the oldest and then the next? No, it doesn't matter who. So you have no order requirement here. So it's her son, Henry Roberts. Of course, I don't know, Soch. I search. He's not there. Add new client. That's the same exact step I took to create Julia. Yeah. Yeah. And also she has a daughter named Rebecca. Now, of course, if she has a different last name, we'll change it. That's fine. Yeah, her last name's different. Of course, some people have different last names. Rebecca James, also full name. Maybe she does have, everybody calls her Diamond. No matches, add new client. Same exact steps. Yeah. Okay, now I have my household of 3. I'm just going to continue my process. All right. Rebecca is the head of household. Henry is the son. And Rebecca, sorry, oops, I'm off. Sorry. Julia is the head of household. Rebecca is the daughter. And Henry is the son. Okay, joined household date. This is just the first time they're in your overnight program. Don't overthink it. Again, 99.99% of the time, that's just the same day. Is that the day Henry was born? No, no, just the night they came into your program. They were a household of 3. The only time that would be different is if like somebody had a baby while they were in your overnight shelter, which probably happens. Okay, that's the one time you'd have a different joined household date. So don't overthink this. This is the time they came into your program. Again, that was maybe the second. 02, 02, 02. And I save and exit. I've created my household. I save and exit. I'm going to check in Julia and her household. Here they are. Again, don't forget to change your dates. Are dates important to your data entry? I cannot stress how important dates are. Again, it's everything about reporting. Who was in your program when? Well, that's all driven by the date they came into your program. So I cannot stress how important these dates are. You've got to make sure you're getting your dates right. Don't forget to kick them back if you need to. Julia doesn't have any incidents. Do not forget to check in her household. So Julia, you're not just bringing Julia in. I got to check Rebecca and Henry. Now I also want to assign them into the Willamette room. So I just click assign unit. And I want to put them in the Willamette room, bed 2, and the Willamette room, bed 3. They're in my Grand Ron program. Again, then I just whip through the data entry. Julia is the head of household. I don't know her exact date of birth. Oh, that's okay. She's about 22, 2000. Approximate. Yeah, beautiful. Race. She identifies as this race, not Hispanic. She identifies as female. And this one, prior living situation was an emergency shelter in Portland. They were there for 2 nights, 1 night or 2 nights. However, they have been homeless since the 12th of this year. This is the first time they've been homeless. And so it's been around 8 months. Yes, a disabling condition. Remember HUD verification. Shift them all to no. They have a mental health disorder. Nike, yes, yes. Again, if you need to type a note, this is for you only. Save and exit. Client location, again, you can go over that. Current county, we'll say they're in Lincoln City. And I save and exit. And woo, 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 woo. There's my household. Now, if you do have household members, it's important to also get their data. Well, don't they have different information? Yeah, it's possible. So you want to make sure you're also entering the data here. Again, households with children. How do you count that? You have one person in your overnight program that's over 18 and one person in your program that's under 18. Oh, how does it know that? Date of birth. Oh, so is it important to enter data on all your household members? Yes, yes. Okay, so I just click on Rebecca and I do Rebecca's data entry. What's Rebecca's relationship? She is a child. What's her date of birth? Again, I don't know. She's like 10, 2011, approximate. She identifies non-Hispanic, prior living situation. You just match these. Emergency shelter from Portland. Do not have the household data sharing. Okay, this household member does not have a disabling condition. Client location. Whoops. So again, remember, do not forget to answer data on all of your residents. And now I can go into Henry. Henry's also a child. You get the idea. Henry is pretty new. Approximate. All right, you get the idea. Okay. Shelter point. I've checked them in. All right, again, what's their file look like? All right, let's go look at their file. I can jump to profile, and this is the file. Oops, Rebecca got connected as yes still. All right, I do want to introduce you to what I call your special little friend. And you have one special friend, and that is the pencil. The pencil is edit. Anytime you see the pencil, it's edit. You can edit anything. So I'll edit this because I made a mistake. Okay. Again, this is what the file looks like. Okay, let me quickly go through how to check them out or an exit. All right, well, you check them in through Shelter Point. Do you check them out through Shelter Point? Yes, absolutely. So you go Shelter Point, find my program. Again, either check client in, even though I'm checking them out, yeah, or view all, it doesn't matter. I find Kevin, and check out is the red circle. And you notice again, if you mouse over, it reminds you, yep, that's check out. You want to check them out, click here. So the red circle. What day did he leave the shelter? Now, again, you don't have to check everybody in and out every single day. If they're in your program the next night, you can leave them in until they truly are not in your program anymore. So I'll say he left today. Reason for leaving? Well, he completed my program. This could be other. A lot of people don't like that word. Like he went back to his car to continue camping. That's not a completed program. Okay, then put other. That he came in for a couple nights. He like hooked him up with a couple overnights. That's pretty awesome. So anyway, so reason for leaving and destination. All right, destination's a big one. Where did they go after your program, your overnight program? Well, again, it's very, very likely they're right back to place not met for habitation. Maybe they again went to a different emergency shelter. So do not be afraid to say that. There's not an expectation that 100% of the people in your program are going to some, permanent housing. So destinations, again, don't be afraid. They're right back to on their car. They're right back to a different emergency shelter. Okay, that's fine. They are now maybe staying with some friends or family. Ah, now like we stabilized, we intervened. They're now gonna go stay with their mom. Oh my! So also staying with friends or family. And you have this cool thing here, permanent tenure. Again, conceivably describing, yeah, like you know, that was so positive, like holy shazmoly. Yeah, so that's staying with friends or family, permanent tenure. Anyway, okay. You notice also very coolly destination. It gives you an indication of what you're selecting when it comes to reporting. So right here, it's giving you, if you select these, we're going to kind of look at it as a homeless situation. Oh, do we have a question? Okay. If you select one of these, we're going to consider an institutional situation. If you select one of these, it's temporary or permanent. So it's kind of, again, giving you some indication. All right, we'll say he went to stay with some family or friends. He went to back with some family for permanent tenure. I don't have to change any of the data. I've already collected all the data. I'm ready to simply save and exit. And Kevin is gone from the program. All right, what did that do to his record? Again, you can get to his record a gazillion different ways and go to client point. Just going to click Kevin, and there, again, it automatically removed him from the program as well. Okay. Thoughts, questions, comments, overnight program. Okay. All right, let's shift to your kind of like, well, not the only thing we're doing here with this navigation program. We're also providing a lot of like services, maybe a day service. Maybe that service is only to people in the overnight program. Maybe that service is to people that are not in my overnight program. So let's shift to kind of that navigation center service. Again, let's see here. We are now shifting, whoops, to this right here. Service transaction for the navigation center. Okay, so again, this is not necessarily your overnight only. This is different. All right. So it's again, this is the recommended method for inputting service transaction. And so follow this for service transactions. Okay, we're going to show you some really fun ways you can do this. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. First and foremost, when you're when you're doing navigation center, your day center work, are they there overnight? No. So you will always be in client point when you're talking about this navigation day center work. Service, oh yeah, that's not overnight. That is during the day sometimes. So I'm not talking about shelter point anymore. We're going to go to client point for all of your day center work, or navigation center, whatever the heck we call it. Okay. First and foremost, I have to get Kevin into that program, what we call an entry. So I got to get him into my program. You know how to check somebody in through Shelter Point. How do you get someone into the Navigation Center program? You simply click Add Entry Exit, and you select the Navigation Center program. Your type, you guys are using Basic. My recommendation, does it matter? It really doesn't. But Basic is the most common. We either use Basic or HUD. This is not HUD funded, so HUD doesn't make sense, so Basic. When did they come into your program? When did they come into the Navigation Center program? Well, they were overnight on the 2nd, but we didn't actually really provide any services until the 3rd. That's when they really engaged. And then, oh, it's the same data? Yeah, so if they were in your overnight program, you're not asking a lot of new data. You might not need any new information. So yeah, I'm going to keep all of this information exactly the same. Now, of course, if they've changed locations, but this was they were in my program at the time. All right, so there is no new data. And that's how I enroll them into my Navigation Center program. Super quick. Now, if they were not in your overnight program, you would want to answer the same elements that you did on all of your overnight program folks. Okay. What's the key, though, of the Navigation Center? What are you providing? What is the service? Is this counseling? Is this bus tickets? Is this? So we want you to do what's called a service transaction. Okay, now that you've enrolled them, that's really awesome. You have some great reports. So we'll go over the reports next. Now that I've enrolled them, how many people are in my navigation center? Okay, awesome. You enrolled them in the program. Who got what? How many people got counseling? How many people got some camping gear? How many? So now I want to do what's called a service transaction. Now you can do it from the summary tab. Right here, I can do it. You can also click service transactions and you can do it. Okay. I would highly recommend what we call add multiple, even if I'm doing one. What if I'm just doing one service? They came in, they got some camping gear. Okay. I would still highly recommend add multiple. It's just easier, much easier. So I'm going to add multiple services. I'm going to select my navigation center and I'm going to start doing my services on the 3rd. And watch what's really cool. When I change the date, it'll change the end date on me. Boom. Oh, that's cool. On the 3rd, this person, and these are the 5 that we're requiring. Again, if you look at this form, it shows you what that might mean. What the heck does basic need mean? Oh, well, here's a list of what that would be. Maybe some personal grooming supplies, maybe some clothing, things of this nature. And again, during the one-on-one, we can really hone in. Does it have to be basic needs? Couldn't it say clothing and laundry? And yeah, we can create those as well. Okay, so this person got some basic needs. Now, again, if this was the one service that they got, I could save and exit. But the beauty of multiple is I can also click add another. And on the 3rd, they also, again, watch it'll automatically update. They got some healthcare. They met with so they got like a vaccine or something cool of that nature. I can add another. On the 4th, now it's today, they also came in for some a cool counseling session. Add another. On the 4th, they also got some income support. They have an appointment tomorrow. I'm just going to add that right now. Sure. Go in the future. And I save and exit, and I can enter service transactions that quickly. Okay, again, that's kind of the key component when we're talking about the navigation services. As many of these as you can possibly enter gives, okay, how many interactions did the folks getting these services have? What was the number one? Was it income support? Again, so these are service transactions. Okay, let us show you some super groovy ways of doing some service transactions. All right, is this making any questions, thoughts, comments? I'm seeing, is it Carolyn? Uh, you guys are having a good conversation. Anything like jumping out? Like, what are these taxonomy codes? No, yes. Any comments?
I had a question, Hunter. This is Judy again. When you said, so for the release of information, that is so that data could be shared outside of the particular tribe that's entering data. Do Are there like limitations? Does that mean it's if they do the ROI, does that mean that they can it's shared amongst all the tribes or within that network, or is it shared also with the COC? I just don't know where the tribes are if they want to share amongst themselves because they may be serving other tribal members and to see if there's overlapping services between the two. And like I would definitely welcome any input from the tribes on whether or not they want to share that information. And, maybe it's going to be different for each tribe, whether or not they want to do that. So how does that work? Can you explain a little bit?
Sure. You have full control over who can see your data. So it's 100% up to you. It can be you and the people, your agency only now, except for the administrators. Of course, administrators will always see the data. That's any system. So you have full control. This move in the system called release of information, whether or not you make that move has nothing to do with this conversation of who can see your data. It just happens automatically. So it's not like if I don't click add ROI, does it like stop the sharing of the data between the two tribes? Maybe no. So you just have to make those decisions, and then we will create what we call visibility settings that will say who you can share to, regardless of whether you click this button or not. So it's not a move that's managing your visibility settings. Well, what is? The conversations and then the system. I'll show you what I mean by that. Who can see Kevin? No matter what, we have what we call a client lock. And if you click on the client lock, right now it says absolutely nobody. So this is sharing to only you. You won't ever hide data from yourself. So right now, the visibility settings, I can tell you right now, the visibility settings are saying don't share any of the information, not even the client record. That can easily change to anything you want it to be. Only share it to this. There's, again, we maybe see the Grand Ronde and Warm Springs. We'll only share it between, any of those things can happen. And again, the beauty is you have full control. Even conceivably, what if, you mentioned it happens automatically. What if one person says, but I don't want that? You can click on the lock. And since you're not sharing to anybody, if you were, you could click on that lock and remove. You have full control. Yeah, so just let us know what you want. Again, right now, your default right now is not to share to anybody but yourself, meaning not even the other tribes, meaning just this entity only. Does that make sense? Yes, absolutely. Again, administrators. I am an HMIS administrator. I see 100% of what's in the system. I have to. How could I help you if I can't see your information? So yes. Now again, now the important piece, am I bound by both federal, state, and local laws around what I could do with that data? Access is maybe the key word there. Yeah. And this, should know, keeps me up at night. Now I have an incredible responsibility to not ever share that data. Yeah, I got your back on this one. Like conceivably, I would have to be subpoenaed by Congress in a sense to have access to some of that data. No way. Not even HUD. You said it's a HUD system. Does HUD have access? No. And I will get HUD out if they try to have access. They do not have the right to see the data. I, as your HMIS administrator, can, but I'm protecting the data for you as to the law. That's the cool part. The law here says, yeah, you can look at it, but you don't ever dare do anything with it.
I had another question, Hunter, so thanks for that. So if someone is coming to the tribe but they're not going into shelter, but they're asking for services and assistance, you don't have to add them to Shelter Point, is that true? You just create a client profile and then you add the services?
Correct. You go through Client Point, you create the client, enter them into your navigation program, answer some data, and then yeah, service transaction, service transaction, service transaction. Sure. Okay. Let us show you a couple cool groovy things around the service transaction. All right, so we might be doing like a lot of services. Yeah. Is there a way to do a service? What if conceivably at the day center, and again, we need to talk to you one-on-one, and we will. Like 23 people came into the door, and all 23 of those people got this cool service of maybe like clothing, conceivably. I don't know. Phil Knight was driving through and he literally dropped off like some Air Jordans. Yeah, and all 23 of those people got those Air Jordans. Wait a minute, you're going to make me go into 23 individual records and add one service transaction? What? I know the 23 people. What if I could do one service transaction or even two service transactions, like in mass? Come on. Yes, this is exactly what we're talking about. It's called ScanPoint. ScanPoint allows you to do a service transaction in mass. Why would I ever want to do that? Of the 23 people that came in, all of them went in for like an individual counseling session with this really cool person. Service transaction in mass. Why would I have to go into 23 records to do the same exact thing? ScanPoint, ScanPoint, ScanPoint. Again, I love multiple, even though I'm doing one service. Yeah. So you can code to multiple services, load the service. Again, it's my navigation center. I'll say this is one distinct service on the 3rd. And this was a super amazing counseling center. Someone came in and did like some meditative thing in a room where it was super, super amazing. So I set the service, and then I can start choosing my clients. Now, here's one super cool thing. Shelter point. Okay, of the 23 people that got that service, 15 of them were in my overnight program. Can I look at a list of the people in my overnight program right now and select them as getting the service? Yeah, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, what I mean by that is choose clients from a unit list. What's a unit list? Shelter point. Shelter point creates unit lists. Shelter point. Oh, so I click choose client from unit list. What unit list? My overnight shelter. That's my navigation center. And here they are. Wait, all of them got the service? Yeah, you knucklehead. What do you think? So I can check all clients and I enter service, and I just created this service transaction for 4 clients without going into any of their records. Okay, so scan point. What about the people that were not in my overnight program? Can I do that for them too? Well, kind of, in a different way. You now say start scan, and I simply can start entering their client ID. Now you have to know their client ID. I believe you can search by name. Whoops. All right, made me start a new session. All right, I do have to have the number. We'll see if I'll try 12. All right, so you do have to have their client ID for this one. You can also choose clients from a client list, and you can create these. And these could be, again, maybe like the top 20 people coming into the navigation center right now, and you can also choose from a list of clients. Okay, so ScanPoint helps you do service transactions in mass. Very, very helpful. Could I truly do, like, what if everybody got the same 2 services? Yeah, you could also do that. Now, again, scan point is good if everybody got the same 2 services. Once I start going adding more, yeah, but only 11 got this one and 14 got the other one, and only 7 of them got both. You might want to do maybe one at a time in that instance. Okay, but again, scan point is super, super helpful for doing service transactions in mass. Okay. All right, thoughts, questions, comments, anyone? How is this feeling? Is this any? Please share some comments, some thoughts. No one? Oh, yes, I see a hand raised.
So I this is a really good, I think, data program to enter. But we're just talking about homeless shelter. What about houses where some of our grants are targeting actual households because of multiple living, and we're trying to help them with like repairs at the houses. I mean, when you have a community that has no housing, then you're going to have multiple housing. So, I mean, when you look at us, we only have 10 shelter homes, and we're going to be counting the same people over and over and over again. But that's not where our grant dollar is really targeting. It's not targeting the homeless shelter. It's targeting homes with multiple people within the household. So, how are we going to have to adapt this um, data entry system to account for what we're doing with other people who are homeless within a household? So they're not in the actual shelters.
Okay. So here's my recommendation. Let me show you kind of what I would envision for what you're describing. The person that's maybe staying in that household and you're trying to like assist that person, like maybe the mom and dad or the homeowner, and they're there and they're like, well, I would be on the street, but I'm like living here, so like get me into a different situation. I really want to be out of this household. It would enroll that person as the person that you're working with into your navigation service program. So you would go like this: client point. They're not overnight. Like you mentioned, this is not an overnight program. So, okay, you're not in shelter point. You search for them by name, person with mom. They're not in the system. You add a couple more things. No soch. Come on. Client refused. This person's not a veteran. Add a new client. And you add them into your program. And this time it's just your service program. And again, we can get a better name for this. Basic. They called me yesterday and we started a conversation about how to get out of your mom's place. And again, maybe relationship to head of household. They're staying with their mom, but we're working with them as an individual. That's fine. Could certainly be head of household's child as well. But here, again, date of birth, you definitely want to get some kind of date of birth. But here, prior living situation. I am not in a homeless situation. I am staying with a family member. How long have you been staying with your moms? I've been staying with my moms for over a year now. Oh, okay. Well, I don't really have an approximate date homeless then. You aren't homeless. All right, so I'll leave that. How many times have you been homeless? I don't know. I haven't been. So you can definitely kind of leave these questions. Hey, I'm not homeless right now. But again, hopefully you're answering all the others. Save and exit. You've enrolled them in your program, and you do some service transactions. And we could get, again, I was just giving you an example. We can have a lot of service, so there could be a specific service here that is like find housing, housing search assistance. And that's exactly what you want to do. And this person is following the same exact flow. It's just they're definitely not homeless right now, but you're providing them this awesome new navigation center service. Now, this is a perfect example of, just quickly in ScanPoint, you might want to create a client list called All Folks Not Homeless. And you can do some grouping of your service transactions for those folks. Yeah, go ahead.
So then, okay, so I'm just trying to be transparent in terms of what I put into the grant. And so I'm just trying to figure it out in my mind in terms of how we're going to codify this, how we're going to report it. So we have, I forgot how many homes we have. I forgot how many homes we have.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to target 80 homeowners.
It was 80.
Yeah, I think it's 80. And in terms of helping them with past mortgage so they won't become homeless. So now how am I going to record? I mean, do I still have to record everyone in the household? Because they obviously, I mean, to get them out of these houses without houses to refer them to is not going to be realistic. So I could try to help them get into their own houses, but there's no houses. I mean, the infrastructure here with our water issues, we can't create a lot of new housing until we get the water issue done. So to pretend that I'm going to help them find their own house is not going to happen. And then with the inflation that has happened, the nearest community being Madras, where now the average rent is about $1,500 with the way the pay wages that we're paying folks. That's not an incentive to go rent on your own when it's going to be $1,500 a month. And even if we did some rental assistance, I mean, we can't provide that amount over a period of time because that's going to run into the probably millions of dollars in order to continue to pay a certain amount of rent, even if the houses are available. So what we're trying to do is help people technically stay homeless within a house, but help them with their past mortgages. How would I report that?
The exact same steps we just went over.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have the name wrong for you. That's all. We just need that one-on-one. Now that I know, this program for you should read my super cool program for the homes that I want to provide mortgage assistance to. That's the program.
Okay.
And then the service transaction would be mortgage assistance,
Okay.
homeless prevention service, other things to keep them in their home.
Like house repair, yeah. Home repairs, paying their past utilities or whatever, so they don't get closed down. Help them with repairs. They need a new roof to stay in the house. They need windows. They need flooring. Okay, I think I'm catching on.
I just have the name wrong, but it's the same flow. Enter them, the 60 households. Now we can get into the detail who I would recommend the homeowner in this instance. Now you're entering the homeowner. Whose mortgage you pay in? The homeowner. Now you're entering the homeowner and everyone in that household. Yeah.
So there could be 20 people in that house. So I would have to then, I mean, there is here around.
Yeah, which I mean, I would, again, it would be amazing and make your program look that much better if you could collect that level of data on every person that's in the household.
Okay, so we just disclosed to the families that we are requiring this in order for them to get these dollars, and that we're not using this data to send into IRS or whatever. That is just to codify in terms of pure aggregated numbers. So the other questions I have is this system connected with the state? So once we get the system, it's connected, so we don't have to then send a report. because it's already being, is it
Well,
connected? Is it a state system?
yes and no. It's an OHCS HMIS system for only 4 continuums of care. It is not connected to like ODHS systems or OHA systems or any kind of transportation systems or anything in what we call integrated client service. That's the state warehouse. So no, it's not connected to that.
I guess my question is the fact, is it a local system, then we have to download the report and send it to you all? Or is it connected with the community housing services, so we don't have to then send it to you all, because every time we enter it, it will be recorded already?
I mean, so yeah, yes and no. Yeah, I mean, well, you're getting into, I guess, somewhat of, in my opinion, a philosophical question in the sense of, yes, you could say, Hunter, run the necessary report. Get out of, just quit emailing me, just run the report. Can you do that for me? Sure, I could. But philosophically, I don't like to do that because I want you to interact with your data. I want you to be the one that maybe looks at the report first. So if you do say, well, okay, go ahead and run it, I know that you've run it yourself and looked at the number. I don't want to tell the wrong story. So it's kind of both. So, but I do and again, now we can maybe even shift into reporting. I want you to run reports. I want you to ensure that the story your data is telling is the right story. And if you're just like, run my report, man, I don't think I'm going to be telling the right story. So it's got to be both of us working together.
Yeah, and I'm only asking this because I have my data person here, and I have 2 other folks who I wanted them to kind of see this. I just want to make sure she understands in terms of what her role is going to be, that she's going to be the master of this system. Of course, other people are going to be inputting into the system, and then she would then have to run the reports, and then we review it, and then we submit them. So I just wanted to make sure that, and plus it would be nice to have this data system to mess around with it with fake names and everything, so we could get some time to feel comfortable with the different whatever you call those things, that what you do, you put the data in, you just down, you put the little arrow, and then you could give you choices. I know there's
Okay.
Yeah,
I can, I'll definitely get you some training site access.
yeah. So that way, and then when we're ready to do the real reports, and we'll put actual real folks, but I think people just need some time to just make a bunch of fake things and then feel comfortable with it. And then we could then know what to ask, because we don't know what to ask until we actually run it. And then we start finding what we need to ask. I think you guys got anything? Yeah, they're just saying yes to everything I said. So I'll put my hand down so you could go on.
Nice. All right. Thank you. Well, it looks like we had one other chat. Is it possible to query specific groups rather than select them individually when entering a service that applies to many? Yes. However, you have to create the group yourself. That's all. So you yourself can go to ScanPoint and go manage client lists and create a new, and or maybe query, enter list name, all folks with children, something like that. And then you can create them. And that, as long as you've done that, now you can have specific groups, but you have to create them. But very easy to create them. So, and you can edit and update them and keep them fresh. Yeah. Okay. Let's shift to reports. Reports. Before I go over any overnight shelter reports, can I just get a confirmation? Is anybody on the call doing like a traditional overnight shelter?
We are Warren
Okay.
Springs.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Good. I just want to make sure that before I show that, I just want to make sure that is happening. Okay. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about first and foremost overnight shelter point. What reports does shelter point provide you? It provides you some very, very groovy reports. All right. Some of you won't have these, some of you won't. All right. I'm going to talk about reporting in two ways. A tool report, like, hey, this is a really cool tool to help me do some case management. So it's a tool, and what we would call a funder report. We just talked about what report are we going to have to run and send you? Like, what's the funder report? So tool report, funder report. The first reports I'm going to show you are very much a tool reports for you to be able to use all the time. You talked about who's in my program overnight. Okay, one of my very favorite reports. So let's go reports. Now, 100% of you that have access to the system, if you have a username and a password, which many of you will have, all of you can run this report. Do I have to have a special password to get into the report? No. All of you can run these tool reports. The first one, the one that I love for the overnight, we call it the daily unit report. Who was in my program last Thursday? What? There's a report that will tell me that? Yeah, the daily unit report. So I love the daily unit. You simply click on it. You select the provider you're looking for, my overnight shelter. What date range? Well, I'm actually looking for last Thursday. I don't think I had anyone in the program last Thursday, so let's just go through like the beginning of the month through today. All right. Show me everybody and please sort it by the client. All right, and I build my report. All right. On the 1st of August, there was only one person. On the 2nd of August, there were 5. On the 3rd of August, there were 5. On the 4th, there were only 4. This total right here is what we call bed night stay. So these 5 clients, I gave these 5 clients a total of 15 nights off of the street. We call this a bed night count. Very helpful. It's really helpful for police. It's a perfect example. Hey, policeman, my shelter served 10 people. The policeman's like, yeah, that whoopity-doo. But you know what? Those 10 people were off of your street. You didn't see them. You didn't interact with them for 120 nights. I housed them for like 12 nights. Wow. Man, so bed night count. It's a really powerful way to talk to somebody instead of people. How many nights did I keep those people off of your street? Bed night count. So that's what this total is. Very, very groovy. Okay. On the 1st of August, this is the person that was in my program. Well, what about the 3rd when it was all 5? All you have to do is change your date to the 3rd and watch what happens. There are the people that were in my program on the 3rd. The daily unit. Amazing way to just look at who was in your program when. Okay, the daily unit. It's live. It's immediate. We could immediately go check somebody else out, rerun this, and it would shift on us. It's live. It's a beautiful report. All right, daily unit. Shepherd's house in Bend. They were like, yeah, that daily unit's cool, but I do also want a report that just shows me how many people I did serve during a time period and some of their demographic information. And that is what we either call the CAPER or the APR. They're pretty much the same exact report. So I'm going to run the APR. Give me some better data on those 5 people. I love this bed night thing, but how many of them, what was their age range? So I'll do a test report. And I want to run it on a provider, and I want to run it on my overnight shelter, and I'll do it for the exact same date range. and I'm doing basic. I will build my report. It's up here, it's kind of loading it. Again, this is a tool report. It gives you a little bit of like missing data. Again, you guys don't have to dive into that as much as maybe some other continuum of care entities. All right, it's done. I just click on my magnifying glass, and I now get a very different view of those 5 people. I'm not as interested in that overnight thing. Who are they? What do they look like? So how many people did you serve during that time period? 5. Wait, but thanks for this report. Who the heck are the 5 people? Any of these numbers are hyperlinks. You simply click on the 5 and it shows you the 5 people. I could even download that into Excel. Of the 5 people, how many are adults? Again, date of birth, date of birth, date of birth. Don't be afraid to approximate. We're talking about that 20-person household. Don't be afraid to approximate some of those dates of birth. Okay, 3 of them are over 18. Which of those 3 are over 18, man? You click on the 3 and it shows you. Oh, okay. Which of the 2 are under 18? Oh, okay. So again, very helpful report. It does give you some other HUD things like chronically homeless, but again, we're not worrying about that kind of stuff. Veteran, how many veterans? So it's giving you some good information. This is where you have against some data quality or it's like some data completeness, what we call data completeness. But again, not for you guys to do too hardcore into. Here's some of the other stuff that's very, very cool. Conceivably like disability type, age. You notice how nicely it's breaking down my age, race. Here's disability types. Oh yeah, like maybe the story is the folks that we're, trying to work with have these specific disabilities. And look at that, my data is proving it now. Things of that nature. All right, here's my where did they come from? Hey, OHCS, don't forget, some of the people we're serving aren't necessarily homeless. Some of them should be coming from these other locations. Yeah, remember? Okay, here's one of the really good ones, is your exit destinations. Length of time. All right, exit destinations. Where are they going? Oh yeah, look at that. That's a very good destination. Yeah, it's called a permanent one. Yes. Okay, the APR. Let me show you one other thing that I absolutely adore about this particular report. I'm new to the data entry, and okay, I'm getting like some of the data I'm going to enter is going to affect the counts and the reports. All right, I entered my first client. What did that do to the APR? All right, here's what I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to pick on Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is client 37. So I grab this number 37. I'm going to copy it. And up here, I can put in a client ID. I'll pop in client 37. And I can click highlight client. This is really fun. Every single cell Mickey Mouse is counted in just got highlighted. Is Mickey Mouse an adult? Yep. Is Mickey Mouse still in the program? What's called a stayer? Yeah. Is Mickey Mouse counted as an adult? Yes. Let's see if Mickey Mouse has, how old is Mickey Mouse? Wow. It's over 62. They identify as American Indian, Alaska Native, or Indigenous. Oh, what's their, they have both alcohol and drug. Okay. So anyway, I do like the highlight client feature. Okay, tool. These are tool reports. Tool reports. Any questions on these 2 reports for overnight program? Okay.
Hunter, can you customize the dates for the APR, or is it already set?
Of course. No, you can put in any date range you want. I only want to look at people that were in my program during this week, during this month, during this year, any date range you want. Yeah. Okay. Let's shift over to my service program. They're not necessarily homeless. I'm not talking about overnight stays here. I'm talking about service. Well, first and foremost, you can run the exact same tool report, the APR, on your service program. Test report services. Select your service program this time, not your overnight program. I'll do the same date range. And again, you can do any date range you want. This time I'll use my shortcut. This is today. Basic. Same report, different program. Same report. Oh, this is where I would find all those people that I'm doing mortgage assistance on. Yeah. This is where I would find the people that maybe I'm doing like keeping them in their home with some roof repair and some utility assistance. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Run this report. Same report, different program. All right. How many people were in that program? 3. There's the new one we just enrolled. Like I kind of should have said just household looking for some assistance to stay there. Same report, different program. Now I have the same exact data. How many are adults? How many are kids? Show me some of their race. Show me their gender, their age. Same report. Okay. But we talked a lot about like that service transaction. Okay, thank you for telling me how many people are in this program. Give me some detail around the service transaction. And that is the client served. Okay. The APR, annual, just so you know, it stands for Annual Progress Report, works for all of the programs. You can run the APR on all of them. The daily unit is designed for your overnight program. The client served is designed for your services program. Boom. Okay. I want to run this on my navigation center, not my overnight program. I'm going to put in any date range, again, any date range, but right now I'll just keep using the same one through today. And I simply build my report. I don't have to change any of these buttons. I don't really use this. I don't like it very much. So I just leave it simply date range, provider, boom, build your report. All right. It is 6 people. All right. Who are the 6 people, man? Same thing. It's a hyperlink. You click on the 6. Here they are. Now, of those 6 people, show me some of the data. Show me some of the services that they're receiving. It does give you some race and ethnicity as well. But I can come down here. Those 6 people got 12 distinct instances of service. So, hey, OHCS, I'm not just meeting with them once. I'm meeting with them a lot. And here's how many times I'm providing a service. And this is 6 people. That's not even households. A lower count of households are getting 12 services. So this is where you count service. Okay, some other cool ways to run this report, and this is really fun. Okay, I got everybody here. Everybody that's getting we just mentioned mortgage assistance. I want to get the same exact counts on only the people that got this one distinct service. Oh, you can do that. So I'm going to pick on basic needs. All right. I gave 3 instances of a service called basic needs. We'll pretend this is mortgage assistance. I can go back to the top of my report, and underneath the service code, I can type in only show me people that got this service called basic need. It's right there. So I select it and I build it again. Who were the 3 people that got that service? I click on the 3 and there they are. So again, a very, very groovy way to run this report. Client served. I love the client served. Okay. tool reports. You got some super, super groovy tool reports. Okay, let's go into some other tool reports that I want to give you access to through a separate reporting system. We call it SAP Business Objects. Not everyone will have this. It's kind of a secondary system, but many of you will want it because it's super cool. Okay. I'm going to come out of the training site and I'm going to go live. You can only access this reporting system if you're live. I was in the training site, so I'm going to go live. Maybe if I have my password correct. Hey, what's happening? Which one did I use? There we go. Is it possible to export report data? Yeah, yes. I mean, like the kind of the tables behind like the APR. You can do, well, shit. Well, one of the funder report is what we kind of would call a data dump. So when we talk about export, maybe like we call it a system query. It's kind of a data dump. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by export report data. Okay, let me show you the secondary system. Again, it's called SAP Business Objects. You just go reports. There's my APR. There's my daily unit. There's my client served. This is what's called SAP Business Objects. Now watch, when I click it, I go into a completely different system. Okay. One of the most amazing reports in SAP Business Objects, we call it the 315. It's for shelter point only. So we go and find it. And it's here. All right, we call it the 315. It's a really amazing report. It's called the Program Daily Census. What it does is it shows you on a month, we can run it on a 30-day time period, and it shows you on every single day, this is how many people were in my program, and this is some of their demographics. So it's amazing. You can do some incredible things with this 315. I want to know how many times Steve was in my overnight, again, only for overnight, 315 only for overnight. I want to know how many times Steve was in my overnight program for the month of June. The 315! You can see Steve, just look across. Every time there's an X, he was in your overnight program. So I love the 315. Okay, while we're in SAP, it kind of shows you. I didn't run it, so it's going to show error. But again, it's literally giving you a client count every single night of the month. Every single night of the month. How many people were in my overnight program? The 315. We love the 315. Okay. Okay. I'm in. Let me go ahead and shift to the funder report. All right, what the heck is, at the end all be all, what is OHCS going to ask for? We are going to ask for the data dump. We call it a system query. And what it is, well, right here, it's called a system query. It's just a data dump. It's kind of give me everybody that was enrolled in my program, their demographics, and some of their other information around overnights. Any program they were enrolled with, give me that information. So this is the funder report. I'll show you what one looks like. I'm going to cancel this. I'm not going to run it. There's, where's like my, maybe I don't have one to show you. All right. Let me run one. Whoops, wrong folder. All right, I'll run a quick one for you. Takes a minute, 40 seconds. It's not the quickest report. Okay, while it's doing its thing, all right, I guess I am going to stick with it. Sorry, I was going to maybe multitask, but I won't multitask. I would let this access to the SAP Business Objects. I would like at least one tribe to have access to this system as well. So at least one of you would be able to run these reports as well. All right, you can run this on what we call a reporting group. You could run it on a continuum of care, or you could just run it on a single provider or program. So I'm going to run it on a single provider. Who are we going to pick on? Let's pick on Shepherd's House. Here's their navigation center service program. We don't use what's called enter data as. Effective date is always today. Start date 7/1/2020. No, I want to do like 7/1/2022 through today. Oops. All right, it's running. Okay, the only other report funder wise is a service he'll call service history report. It's basically exactly the same as a client serve, just in Excel. So those are the only two funder reports. You have more tool reports than funder reports? Yeah. Yeah. So one is the system query. The system query on both your service program, whether it's homeless prevention or utility, emergency services, the system query, and a service history report on only your navigation services. You don't have to do service transactions for the people in your overnight program. Again, unless they're accessing those as a part of your service program. So those are the two funder reports. All right, it's loading, and I'll show you a service history as well. Okay. Oh yeah, Excel is absolutely an option. Yeah, so yeah, I guess maybe that was you can export really all of the reports, even the APR. So every little button you click on, you can export into Excel, which is not the best, which is why these reports, you get all of the people in one Excel spreadsheet, which is much easier. Yeah. All right, come on, baby. And SAP Business Objects is not fast. It's a slow system. The tool reports, when we looked at the tool reports, the client served, the APR, the daily unit, and those go very fast. All right, come on. Reporting. Any thoughts, questions, comments, reports? Just so you know, could we certainly like customize a little bit of the report for you? Yeah, there's some things we could do to certainly maybe a specific service you're trying to provide, like a mortgage assistance or something of that nature. It's not really, again, a SAP Business Objects report training. However, there are some what we call input controls and drill filters, which allow you to look at your data by like a different, maybe a subpopulation. Well, the people we're serving for are split between Lincoln County and Lynn County. Well, conceivably, you could click on a button and it would only show you the Lynn County people instantly. So some things like that, what we call a drill filter. Maybe it's Deschutes County or Redmond County, things of that nature. City, if you do type in a city, well, what about city? Could I drill by a city? Yeah, of course, those types of things. Could I drill by race? Could I drill by age? Could I drill by residence prior? All of that stuff. You can kind of do some really groovy things inside of SAP Business Objects. All right, come on, man. All right, I'm going to give this one more second. If it doesn't run, I'll just stop it and show you the service. History report, the 2 funder reports, only 2. Those are the only 2 we're going to ask for. Come on.
Hunter, while we're waiting for the report, do you want to talk about setting up individual meetings with each of the tribes and what that looks like?
Sure. Yeah. Jeremy, maybe I don't know if you had an idea of exactly what that looked like already, or if we do like a doodle poll. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yes.
Yeah, I'll jump in there, Hunter. Thank you. Yeah, so I figured, Hunter and I would just kind of email everybody one-on-one, and just get some dates and times that would work for everybody. So that way we could sit and discuss some more of the one-offs, for example, that Caroline was mentioning with her project. So if that'll work for everybody, then that's just what we'll move forward with and get those scheduled on the books. So again, that way we can spend some more of that one-on-one time with everybody, talking about some of the more caveats of everybody's project, and kind of get that wrapped up and put into place for everyone. Sound good?
Good.
Yes, Caroline, go ahead.
To be honest, I really like the software. I don't know what to call it anymore in this day and age of computers, but it was really over my head when we started getting to the reports, because there were so many different categories. And so somewhere along the way, when we start having to submit our reports, I mean, it's going to be overwhelming, because there's so many, what you call it, when the not files, what you call it?
Errors.
No, not errors. You guys, there were so many different reports that we could submit. We would have to know which one we do submit. You see what I mean? So up to that point, when you start going to the reporting, it was like, over my head. There was like information overload all of a sudden. And it was so many categories. That's what I meant. So, which one do we send in for our reporting? I think that's where we might have to have another maybe training, because this is a lot to digest. I really like the tool though, because it looks simple, the drop down menus and everything that you could add in your own name of your programs, who you're maybe referring services to. That's all excellent. Just the reporting was like, okay, I'm gone. I flew off somewhere, because it's like, that was what they call in computer language texting, TMI. I learned that one. I never knew what that was, and someone said too much information, Caroline. So it's like, oh, so yeah, it got TMI there, but it has nothing to do with you, Hunter. I really like the way you present. I like your little humor. I like the making us feel kind of like this is a complicated type of thing, but I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna throw in some little, Mickey Mouse and little things like that. Now I really like the training. It just that I think we might have to have a follow-up, Judy, somewhere in terms of when it comes down to the reports.
Gonna do one-on-one, right?
Yeah, he did. Jeremy said that we'll probably have some little one-to-one because we're all going to be unique, I assume. Since you guys had the opportunity to know what all the other tribes are doing, I'm sure we're as different as we are as nations, that we all have different ideas in terms of what this opportunity was creating for us for housing. And understand too, I'm a behavioral health person. So the housing for me has been a new language for me to try to master and understand. But I'm glad with the connections in terms of when you guys are doing kind of like profile of the clients, that you included the different issues that is precursors, in my opinion, as to why a lot of our population is homeless. And so some of those categories, I really like that, because I think that's missing on the behavioral health side. And if housing and behavioral health people would just kind of like intertwine, I think we would have a whole different scenario. So I think sometimes even at the state level, sometimes we work in different departments, which creates isolation, and I don't think that's the intent. But because of funding sources, that's what's created. And sometimes we're replicating or duplicating when we don't have to do that if we just kind of come together. So to me, this is really, I know Danielle Woods is the one who said, hey, give it to Caroline. But to me, this is really exciting because we already have the behavioral health, and we already have our homeless shelter up and running at 24/7. That wasn't our intent, but the opportunity was there. But this grant is going to give us an opportunity to not only monitor our homeless, but also to go into our households, which are on the verge of being homeless if we don't get them some of the assistance. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this grant process.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Caroline. And yeah, you touched on many points for exactly why we do want to do kind of one-on-one follow-ups with everybody. And of course, over here at OHCS, we want to make sure that we're giving everybody our full support to ensure that this entire initiative is successful, and that you guys have all the tools that you need. So I think, yeah, as I said, Hunter and I'll just email everybody, and we'll get something scheduled on the books, and then we'll sit and kind of work to dial it all in.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to what Jeremy was saying is that, yes, we, from the very beginning, we've told the tribes we want you to be successful in this with this housing program, and we're going to offer you as many tools and resources as possible. And we've talked to Hunter about having like individual sessions and training and support. And I also want to offer up Jeremy, because he's also an HMIS guru, if you didn't know that. So he's going to be able to help as well, along with the HMIS team, in helping you, look at reports and what needs to be submitted. And so like some of the program reporting that we're requiring is HMIS, but some of it, like you could take some of those reports and create a narrative for that, for any other reporting that you need to do. So trying to make it simple. And I think that was part of Caroline's question, is like, if you do this reporting, will it help, as far as the other program reporting that you need to, and so, yes, it will help with that. And, it can be useful in all of your other programs as well, especially when you're looking at who you're serving on the behavioral health side, and then who also needs housing, and sort of making those connections. So I just wanted to pop in and say that. You can You have my permission to email Jeremy and use him up. He's actually really great with HMIS.
I don't know, we might have to adopt him and bring him over.
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely available to assist you guys. So I think for the sake of time, I'll hand it back over to Hunter if that report is ready, just so we can do that one final review.
Cool. I didn't get it to run, but I'll show you where the service one is.
Did anybody else have any questions while Hunter's pulling that up? Nope. All right.
All right. This is the other one right here. It's called the Service Transaction History Report. So hopefully in the title, we try to make it as clear as possible. Yeah, this is just giving us the service transactions. So system query, service transaction history report. These are the two funder reports. The service transaction history one, it does have a lot of counts. So it's counting up how many of the households got a service of basic needs and mental health and individual. So it's doing some really good counting in here for you. So these are the two reports. Again, not only are there funder reports, this one in particular, the service history, you can run this yourself for again a lot of what we just, Judy was just talking about. Yeah, we said we were going to be heavy in this particular service, and sure enough, our data is proving that. So these are the two. They're in the same exact folder, which is nice. Oops. And again, we'll go into the super detail of these, but they're sitting right next to each other. 1, 2, 3 reports away. So these are the two. All right. That is all I had. But yeah, we will definitely be talking very soon.
Yeah. Hunter, thank you very much for getting this, training completed and, being part of this conversation and continuing to, get this moving forward. We appreciate your time. So I'll open it up for one last round or possibility for questions. If anybody's got any, toss them in the chat or just unmute and throw them out.
Hunter, in preparation for your one-on-one meeting with each of the tribes, what would be helpful for the tribes to bring to that meeting or have determined, like, maybe names of programs or something of that nature, so that you guys can all use your time well when you meet?
You're muted, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly, Judy. Kind of what did you call out in your grant, and what program do you want that to represent in your data? If you do have an overnight program, if you do, the more detail you can give us around the structure, the beds, the more Shelter Point will look amazing for you. So, oh yeah, we're like in the Motel 6 on the second floor. We have room 210, 212, 213, and in room 213 are two queens. The more detail you can provide us in your overnight, the more we can make Shelter Point connected. But yeah, just this is what we called out. This is what we call that program. We call that program the Navigation Center in-house service program. Oh, okay. Well, that's what we'll call it.
Does anybody else have any questions? You good, Caroline? All right. All right.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just talking to my data person in terms of that we need, I don't think, she hasn't read the grant yet, so.
Yes, I have read the.
Oh, you have read the grant? Okay,
gave
thank
it to
you.
me.
Yeah, I gave it to her. I'm sorry. Anyway, so we could then look at it now a little bit deeper in terms of what type of, when we do our one-to-one, what questions that we need to make sure that the system is matching what we're doing. I think so far it is matching now that you explained it, Hunter, that we had all these other drop downs. Or we could even add a drop down. So I think, yeah, I think we're good. We're good.
Awesome. Well, again, thank all of you guys for joining us today. We very much value your time and we look forward to connecting one-on-one. So with that being said, I will let everybody loose. Thank you guys.